Okay, anyway, welcome to the middle school's first PTO meeting of the year. I guess timely meeting for us to be able to get together. Normally we hold this in September. We've had pushed it back a little bit to give an opportunity for us to get our beat under ourselves, work on the budget, which is actually the priority of the PTO business. And then the rest of this is really an opportunity for us to connect, have an opportunity to meet Principal Flood in person, ask questions about the start of the year. And then we had also advertised that we would have the ability to have questions and answers with Heather Weingart, who's our school board member, who's here to answer questions about the levy that's going to be on the ballot in November, if anyone has anything related to that. But just start with introductions. I'm Ryan Muka. I'm a co-president here at the middle school this year. Dom Frazier, unless you're in front of the camera, it's kind of challenging. My co-president's here as well. But actually, Dom, why don't you say a couple words? You won't be in front of the camera, but if we go around, this is our executive board for our PTO. They've been wonderful volunteers already. Many have experience with PTO longer than I've ever had it, have experience at the middle school, and have been tremendous so far in helping us launch this year successfully. So Aaron, actually, do you mind if I start with you as treasurer? Just introduce yourself and to the room, and then he'll be the next speaker related to the budget.
Take the hot seat here.
Yeah.
I'm Aaron Steinmetz. I am the treasurer this year for the middle school PTO. Great turnout. Welcome, everybody. Our first order of business for the year is to approve a budget. So the leadership team has been kind of working on this over some discussions this summer and the last few weeks. And there's a handout here if anybody doesn't have it. It's got the budget printed out. And I don't know if the people online.
Yeah, for the people at home, this will be posted to our PTO middle school website likely tomorrow.
Okay. So the goal today will be have any discussion needed and then have this approved so we can start our spending for our activities. So I'm just going to walk through some high level summary of this. So we're going to start the year with $25,000 in the bank, which is a little bit higher than most of the other schools in the Shaker PTO. We kind of built up a balance over the pandemic. So much like last year, we're actually going to budget to have a deficit this year. We net plan to spend about $7,000 more than we're going to bring in and then bringing in meaning our main fundraiser, which has been moved to the spring, which is the Rainbow Run. So we're estimating our fundraising to be $15,000 net from the Rainbow Run, which is consistent with 2 years ago. Last year we had a bit of a lower number, and we're attributing to the fact that we had it during the school day, so it wasn't as big of a community event. So this year, it's moving into the spring. We'll be able to include the whole community and reach that $15,000 target. If we could get back to where we were kind of pre-pandemic, it was raising more like $25,000. So that's a target goal if we could get there. In terms of our expenses, you can kind of see the big categories. The biggest being our outreach budget, which is mostly teacher appreciation. So we have 3 events for our teachers and our staff each year. We're budgeting $4,500 in that category. And then our educational enrichment category, which includes our biggest initiatives, which are supporting the 8th grade DC trip via, last year we spent money on scholarships for people who needed them, and also for supplies for the school bus and the trip and the ride there. In addition, we have been doing teacher and club grants. So teachers come and ask if we could fund certain things to help their classroom to increase and improve the student experience, and or certain clubs come and ask for funding to help support their after school clubs. In addition, we have a category about $5,000 for principals enhancements. Last year, that was spent on end of the year events like Cedar Point trips, fun and stuff trip. So whatever we decide this year, we have money set aside for that. And then finally, we have our kind of operations, which is just our kind of overhead expenditures. At the end of the year, we plan on having $18,000 in the bank based on that budget. Anybody have any questions, discussion?
I just want to highlight that we usually have actually a lot more line items in there. I tried to narrow these to make it more comprehensible for the review and kind of a better idea of the larger buckets. At times, if priorities shift, whether, there's a change in kind of the activities that the school did, as Aaron mentioned, we have the ability to shift dollars between different line items and different priorities. It's been a real, I'll say, while it's a benefit to have such a significant carryover, we've been charged by PTO council, all the PTOs have been, to start spending this money. So that's a positive. That's why presenting a budget that's running as a operating deficit, like we said, is consistent with last year. We are asking to get permission to kind of spend down that overhang of money, and that's what our goal is. So we're hoping that this is the year that kind of truly feels like we are post-pandemic and try to help create new traditions in the school, and wanted to have the flexibility and the ability to spend money on those things to help kind of build morale. Does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, we would just jump in to request a vote to approve the budget for this year so we can at least start on the teacher grants, which I know they're dying to start applying for. Okay. Any comments, anything in the chat?
Don't see anything, no.
Or, okay. We're gonna let some people in from the waiting room.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
No, no worries. About admit all would probably make more sense. Okay. I'm hopeful that means everyone's in now. And welcome to our new Zoom participants who just got on. We were just doing brief introductions and talking about the budget for the year. With that, may I ask for a motion to approve? Yes, Abby.
I move that we approve the budget as presented.
Perfect. Any vote? Well, all ayes? Aye.
Yeah.
Any objections? Wonderful. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
being so great about that. So now we can get to the real fun of the meeting. I'll sit down so people can see my face and not just a voice talking into the background. So I'd like to introduce Principal Tom Flood. He is here. When we talked about having him at our first meeting of the year, it was thought it was going to be earlier in September. It was going to be all, rah rah, and how excited we are for the opportunity to get things kicked off. We did have a wonderful start to the year, but we've also had some challenges in the last couple of weeks. So he's here to kind of talk through from the very beginning to now, how the school year has started and what his outlook is. So Tom, if you don't mind.
First I want to recognize Ryan and Dom for all the work they've done. We've been, meeting in the summer, talking, and it's a lot of time, so I appreciate that. Also want to recognize here, we have Molly Kane, our admin assistant, Yvette McLean, she's our 8th grade assistant principal, and Pat Rashid, our 7th grade assistant principal. And I just want to say, I did not make them come tonight. I did not put that out there. They came here on their own. I think it just really highlights their dedication to the school and to the community. So I just really want to say that first and foremost. And then I just want to take a moment here to express my gratitude for the opportunity to be the principal here at Shaker Heights Middle School. It is an honor and privilege to be here. I'm sitting here right now. So, we'll get right into it. First, I'd like to just address concerns about our school safety. There's been a lot of discussion over the middle school, I would say, over the last, week and a half or so about altercations here at our building. And unfortunately, we've had a few. Out of the 650 students that we've had here in our school, 19 students have been involved in an altercation. That's 2.9%. It's right at about 3% of our students. These situations are typically, they involve students who are peers, revolves around social media. a lot of struggle even with conflict management, just escalate quickly. So, I do want to say first and foremost, we do hold these students accountable. It's very important that we do that. We do want to make sure we uphold a school environment and keeping students accountable. The other part of it is too, that we want to make sure that we support our students. Our families, they don't approve of this, when we're talking with them. It's something there too, where we really have to target counseling, specific counseling and specific support so they can be successful. That is our job here as well. I also wanted to talk about too, over the last weekend we had, and starting actually Friday, about that there was, rumors of threats here at the middle school. We always say it's important, if for any student, if you see something, say something, or if you hear something, say something. And we really ask that you report that to a trusted adult. On Friday, we did have an altercation right first start in the morning. We had a student support coordinator, school counselor, security, and myself were all present right then and there. And it was quick. And we kind of went about our day. Later on that day, probably around third, fourth period, we started having parents come in saying that there's been a threat made to our school. Nothing was reported to us. And so we were really taken off guard. So suddenly, we went into immediate action. We started investigating, polling students, seeing what we can find, seeing what we can hear. And between the staff that was present, between the interviews that the several interviews we made, we cannot find any evidence that even existed. A lot of different stories, a lot of different things. Over the weekend, there was a social media part that there's a video made about a threat to our school. Once again, through our investigation, even with our help with the Shaker Heights Police Department, there was no evidence of that video ever being made. So what I really want to say is that, we don't want students to not report things. We definitely want our students to talk to, whether it's parents and you contact us, to contact a trusted adult here at the school, because we will get on it. We will investigate. We will see what we can find. But we do also ask not just to put things out in social media, not just to put things out there without talking to an adult, because that can cause panic, that can cause anxiety, that we really don't want to have here at the video, here at our building. And then last, I just want to say, we've had, I really truly believe, talking with our staff, our students, our security, our custodial staff, just everyone around, they really feel positive about the start of our school year. We've had a lot of events here just in the month of September. And we started off with the Cleveland Browns here right away. And we had students going in and out, and that was a great event. And it really did, we did kind of really target a lot of our students that we know that needed extra support. And I really do believe that helped them. We did have a school assembly with our Shaker Heights Police Department here on internet safety. We did have another assembly that really emphasized student empathy. And I thought it was a really well assembly done by Ms. Rashid. Of course, we had the pep rally where we had all our students in the auditorium, and it was loud, it was crazy, and it was fun. And we had ice cream after. We just had the Dig Pink volleyball game where the volleyball team raised $2,000 for breast cancer. Gymnasium was filled. Students, families, parents. It was a great event. And just now, our after-school club program has started as well. We have hundreds of students here after school. Robotics club, Model UN, Power of the Pen, Media Club, Student Government. And we are even adding more to the next board agenda too. There's a lot here to offer. And I just want to say, we cannot be doing these things without a safe environment. we cannot be having this part of it without a student body, and within our environment here at school without being safe. So I do really believe we have great potential for this school year. This is my third year here at Shaker Heights Middle School. I was the assistant principal in 7th grade, assistant principal in 8th grade, and I've seen our school grow. I've seen the instruction in our classroom grow. Our school data shows that. We've had just past year, our Algebra 1, our 8th grade students take Algebra 1. And the passage rate that we had for our students, really growing up in the 70% for that is excellent. And even just now what we've added in our design with our lacto for fermentation and our, we talk about limiting food waste is just a part, like that's a great program for our students. And I really do believe that we are on the upward trend here at the middle school. So.
I was gonna say, I see somebody
Mhm.
else trying to get admitted, but it might be a good
Okay.
time to pause.
Okay.
That was a wonderful update. If
Okay.
there's anything else you didn't get to in
No,
your
that's.
comments,
Mhm.
but we're here to engage. So if people have specific questions or comments you want to provide, this is a dialogue. It's a real chance for us to, share your ongoing concerns. But I do agree that, like my experience, and I know I probably have the privilege of like having access this year as being PTO principal, but I have never been more comfortable coming to the school or picking up the phone and calling the staff, and it's been tremendous. So we are trying to find ways to make every day better for all of our students, and we welcome any feedback and suggestions that other parents have, because we have had a lack of engagement, at least in my experience while I've been here at the middle school for the one prior year. We're trying to create a real sense of community, and just your showing up tonight is evidence of that. It's not the best circumstances for why everyone probably came out to the first PTO meeting. I thought it might be fun and exciting that you guys wanted to see the budget, but I know you're here for now.
Yeah.
So
What about Heather? Heather's,
well, Heather too,
I
of course,
mean,
but
so-
make sure. There's a comment
Okay.
about,
About lunch.
yeah, so everybody
Okay.
saw it online, but there's a
Mhm.
comment about separating students by communities during lunch periods. Well, you'll have to be near the mic for
Okay.
anyone to hear.
No.
I know you do, but they might want to see your face too, Mr. Sheet.
Well,
Trying to stay in the background because we are certainly here to support our principal. Oh, I need to sit down
Yeah,
too.
so everyone
Okay.
online can see you too, and hear you well.
Hi, and hi, everyone here. The purpose behind that was more so in regards to making sure that our students who should be in advisory and learning more information are in advisory. When students are intertwined, it's hard to discern who's in one community over another. And because our teachers provide some support during that time, they know the students better than we do. So we separated them, and we've given them an incentive too, that based on those behaviors through the week, Friday, they have free seating Friday. So they'll get to a point on Friday where they do have an opportunity to intermingle. We have found, and I have witnesses, that by doing this, the lunchroom is much calmer. You'd be surprised when they're sitting in their teams assignments. It's a much smoother interaction than when students are allowed to just intermingle. They sit quietly, they enjoy their lunches, they have plenty of opportunity to finish their food, and then they're ready to move to advisory. When we allow them to just sit randomly, students wander in who should be in advisory. So that's the main reason why we decided we want to give them opportunity for additional instruction. And when students are not put in the teams, they tend to want to come into the cafeteria, and that takes away from instructional time. I know you all don't want that. I know you want your children to get as much instruction as we could possibly provide. And I promise you, on Fridays, we'll give them an opportunity to intermingle. Does that answer your question? Yes? She's smiling.
Okay, good.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Is that for seventh and eighth grade or just seventh?
Seventh and eighth.
So there's no, will that remain for the entire year as well?
Well, we'd like to see students get into a routine of going to advisory because that's important. That's a time we set aside to make sure there's additional instruction for students who ask for it, students who may need a little more remediation, and students who want to do some extracurricular things.
Is there a different way to enforce children being in the classes they're assigned to, rather than putting other kids who are doing the right thing in a situation where they can't sit with their friends in other communities?
Well, we're hoping over time that what you're suggesting is something that comes naturally. And for us, once we get a chance to really know which students are in what teams, it would help us because there are a few numbers of us monitoring the cafeteria and so many more students.
Additional time. So math and language arts, those classes are given priority. Students also have the opportunity to work with their language teachers or foreign language teachers, science, INS. They're given that opportunity to work with them as well. So it's kind of like getting extra help since we do not have after school rater time. If you have siblings who have gone through here, I know I had your son Gage, we had greater time. We had a time after school where students could stay after school and get additional help. Now with that not being the case, this is a way to provide that extra support outside of the classroom for our students.
So if your
Yes.
child doesn't need support, what do they do during those?
And I was just add to that too. We are adding
We're back on.
social emotional lessons. We are doing community circle Fridays, certain things of that as well. And part of the day too is if there's a little downtime, I'm okay with that. The school day is it's a long day. There's a lot of information that they get inundated with day in and day out. And so sometimes during lunch, if they just need time, that if they want to get caught up on a book, if there's something else that they want to work on or anything, that may be part of it. But we also do want to provide those supports too for students that need it. I mean, I can speak as an 8th grade assistant principal last year, like greater time for our Algebra 1 students was critical. They were able to get extra help throughout that day.
So it seems to me, in my daughter's experience, that there's not really a lot of time for socializing.
Mhm.
So at lunchtime, she has to sit at a certain table. And at advisory, she has assigned seats in her advisory class. And fortunately, she doesn't need the supports, but she's not allowed to talk. She's not allowed to, she can do work if she has work. But it seems that for middle school and adolescents, a time is needed for some, social engagement. And I'm not sure that she's getting it.
Well, I think that's something too, we can really look into advisors, how we want to work it. Like I said, I think we are really trying to up our social emotional lessons in advisory. And we want to have, socialization, structured socialization, things of that nature. So
will there be a curriculum in advisory for some of that stuff?
for some days, yes.
Right, last year there was a curriculum and it wasn't addressed.
Mhm.
So is it the same curriculum?
Guys ready to eat?
Who's going to make sure that it's being addressed?
Yeah, we will have our facing history curriculum. That's something that we're working with our counselors that are helping kind of create our lessons as well, more or less. And also just kind of a pulse too. So it's like if, we have a theme week of something, we want to use that advisory time too, to kind of build on that as well.
If you would, I have to say this, Mom, and it's me being funny, silly, end of the day. There's a lot of talking going on in that cafeteria.
No, I'm sure in the cafeteria, I'm sure at her table, I'm sure they're chatting and eating, but there's not a lot of time. It's
No.
25 minutes.
You're right.
If you're on time, you have your lunch and you don't have to wait in line.
25 minutes, you're correct.
Right. It's not a lot.
Not to belabor the point, but just, my kids came home and they said, what do you love about middle school? Like, freedom, they love the freedom of moving around. And then they said, now we have no freedom at lunch. And I said, well, this all makes much more sense to me now. But in their mind, they do think it's punitive. And so maybe some more messaging around like, this is why we're doing it, and this is to help everyone, instead of them saying like, I don't know, we're bad, and now we have to sit, at our tables. That was the message that I received from them. So maybe just a little bit more, I don't know, a way to maybe an advisor to talk about this is why we're doing it.
Also, so we have to make sure we communicate that too, because we want it to be fun. I want it to be fun. We want to have celebrations. We want to have pep rallies. We want to have quarterly award ceremonies. It should be fun. Middle school should be fun. We're trying to take the time now to set that foundation, that structure, so we can have fun. And I like to have fun. I mean, I love being in the classroom. I was in the classroom for 18 years. I love being in the classroom with my students. And so I think it's important for them to have that fun. But right now, we need to build the structures. We need to build the community. We need to build the climate. And so some of these things right now, and last year they had about 42 minutes of just time where they would go outside. And now I know some of that time was taken for more instruction, instructional purposes, so they have more time in the classroom. But that's kind of my mission. I want it to be fun for them, and we're gonna begin to incorporate some of those things in there. So
We promise we'll get there.
Questions?
Um,
Yeah.
I don't always get the best information
from my child throughout the day, so thank you for the overview. But I also like, you know, I think there was a disconnect on Friday, and I know during the throes of it, you can't respond to parents and stuff, but, you know, I think finally in the reply from Sunday, it was like a minor incident. But then I still hear that it was like an ambulance came, took a student away, hoping that's not defined as minor. So I don't know if there's a way
I mean,
for you to send these positive things out too, as well as some negatives, like, or just so that we can then talk to our students, because I was getting texts about, I want to come home, I don't feel safe. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. I'm in the middle of the day too. I don't know. And then
I guess I
trusted that you guys had everything under control to a degree. But just then maybe then Friday night, Saturday, a little bit more clarification of what's happening. It's still a disconnect to me of what
it's hard to make, I think, communication maybe based off of one student. I will say the injury did not happen based off of another student. Okay. So I just want to, like I that part of it, you know, we do have confidentiality stuff that we do have to abide by, and it's tough. Yeah.
But to say that they're not based off one student, but like based off that's the school that happened.
Sure.
So it just, and I'm not complaining. I just want to see how we can figure this out. So that my anxiety is not rising. I trusted you. I didn't want to come home. I said no, and I think the school is the safest place to be at that point. But there has to be some bridge, though. You know, if an ambulance is here, that's not a minor mistake. Like that needs to be clarified that we had something that went wrong. We're figuring out what to do with it, and you know, we're putting things in place into interventions so that it doesn't. And the positive. I mean, I'd love to hear, you know, the pep rally I got. I'm sure, yeah, so that's nice to hear.
Yes, right. Oh, go ahead.
Just to clarify, you're saying that the ambulance, what led to the ambulance is not related to the incident. Okay. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
I mean, it's
If I could just, I think we should, probably a lot of us are thinking the same thing. But I think maybe there might be some room for improvement. I obviously don't work in school administration. I don't know where the lines are, but I think part of what went a little bit sideways, at least from a parent perspective on Friday, is everybody's phones are blowing up. You know, I'm talking to other parents and I'm saying, what's going on? And when you have like 11 and 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds sort of driving the information bus.
Yep.
No one has information. They're just amping each other up. It can be a little bit upsetting. And then if you call the school and everyone's like, there's nothing going on, it's like, well, something's going on. So maybe there's some room for improvement and maybe earlier messaging from the school about there was an incident, everything's fine, your kids are all just getting.
And I will say we did delay it. I mean, we were not so much aware of what was happening until parents were coming in the building. And so from there, I did not want to just put something out right away without talking to students. And we talked to several students because there was no thing clear. So that investigation does take time. And we have to make sure that we're going to put something out. Like, I don't want to put something out, then I find out that wasn't right. And there really was something happening. So, you know, like I said, it's important we have our students talk to an adult, talk to a teacher. Hey, we thought we heard this. Hey, so-and-so just told me this. What's happening? We can get on it right away. But when it's like parents are coming in and I'm like, what's going on here? Hi. Oh, and I was like, what? Who said it? Like what? And then we're talking, and then we're stopping everything, and that's what we're working on. But we had to go through our protocols too to make sure that.
I have my son having his phone at school, just so that he can come, so just with today's day, like you can use the contact, but then I feel like kids in any school have more trouble having their phone at school because of the and then it like escalates things where they might complain. Happen, and I don't get to see them, but I've heard about them. But I just don't know, like, I don't know. That's one of our issues. I don't know how it almost makes things worse than having your phones because as students, I understand you can't take them away.
You can. I mean, but that you can. Like, I'm not saying the school can. My son doesn't have a phone. I didn't hear. He wasn't looped in. I'm not saying everyone has to do it that way, but I didn't get the panic text because he had no way of contacting me. And I trusted the school that he was either not in that ambulance or he was not at risk. So, because I didn't hear anything. And I get it, because part of me was like, I should get him a phone so he can reach me if there's really something that's serious. But I've watched him with his friends because he has access to things at home, and they share misinformation constantly. And we need to be better about policing their use of their devices and what they believe and what they don't believe. And I think we have to have more influence over that to make some of this better for the school.
One of the things that I love at professional orientation, this is not freshman, seventh grade orientation, was what you said about like, this is why your children should not have their phones in the classroom, because I said, oh my gosh, it's happening. And so what, I thought they had like somewhere to put the phones in the classroom,
So
we
we
need to like help our students say, if you are bringing your phone, please put in your teacher's bin or whatever, like how is that working?
Yep, and that's something that we're working on here with staff. I think we have to, get a little bit better compliance with
We
that.
can work on that.
Yeah, so.
That still is. what
Yep.
There's still that transition, however, from one class to another. They take their phones with them. In the home. Yeah.
Can I just say something? So my daughter has been through 7th and 8th grade, and now we have another daughter that's here in 7th grade. And honestly, I don't really trust the school. Because constantly in her 7th and 8th grade experience, she would see kids being pushed into windows and windows being broken. We didn't want our daughter here, but we're in the school system. We have 3 kids. We live here, we pay taxes, we're gonna send our kids to public school. When this happened, she did not feel safe. She did have a phone with her. It was probably too early in the day for it to even be at the couch for the class. I don't know, because I know that she normally. But it was disruptive to all of our days, and disheartening to hear, this is happening again. And I was gonna give us another go and another try for our family. So she came home because I didn't trust what was happening here. There was another fight in her class today, and it's happening. What is going on? I don't understand.
I would say, as I kind of stated before, it's important that, us here as our admin team.
They couldn't hear the comments online, so could we possibly synopsize? I'll say, we have a parent who communicated that she has had a child here in middle school before, has one here again, and doesn't feel that she can, you use the word trust, doesn't trust the school. I want to make sure I'm not misquoting you. Her daughter, there were experiences with fights last year, another fight today in the classroom, and she wants to know what's different. Why is this happening again? Why should we trust the school with our students?
One more thing I wanted to say, and this is another thing that leads me to believe how can I trust, is that I work in a different district right now, and there's constant police presence, constant, in the school, outside the school. I've come here to pick up my daughters for orthodontist appointments. I never see police outside or inside. I'm done, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You want
So I just want to say, as Mr. Flood said, and I've been dealing with a lot of the discipline. I'm an 8th grade assistant principal. I did work with the 7th grade, who are now 8th graders, last year for a little bit, for most of the school year. And what we're saying, he says 19 students. We're seeing a lot of repeat incidents. A lot of these students come with history from Woodbury. There are a lot of carryover situations, and it's the repeat of conflict. So when there's a conflict, we do restoration. We try to get resources to help the students resolve their conflict. And one thing we're seeing, which is really, really difficult, because I don't know how much other than, asking, and I've called parents today, please support us with keeping your kids off of social media. They're posting things over the weekend, they're getting on there, they're talking. And so when they come to school, then the plans or the conflict has already started, and then they're ready to act. So when we see that, we are trying to get ahead of that as much as possible. Students are coming to us, telling us, someone's saying this to me. These are not random things where people are just walking up and hitting someone. These are students who have relationships and friendships or conflicts with each other, and they're having a hard time maybe letting the conflict go after they've had an altercation, whether it be verbal or physical, and we've done the restoration, we've talked to the parents. It's still kind of hard for them to let it go. And so we're constantly talking to them. How can we solve this? What can you do? If the interaction is getting heated, what can you do? Can you get up and walk away? Can you go tell an adult? So we're trying to give them strategies for resolving conflict. We don't want to just be giving discipline to put them out of school, but what is the teachable moment? As a parent, what is the teachable moment? I feel that is also our responsibility to help them to see, what do you do in lieu of hitting someone or things like that. So these are not random acts. These are students who have relationships with each other or conflicts, which are most of the time, I want to say 99% of the time, is fueled by social media, the things that they're saying to each other. And we're asking parents, please, 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 please monitor that. At this point, I think the phones for safety. I know a lot of students, their phones are for safety reasons, not to get on there and chat and, cause conflict or make someone feel bad. And a lot of times that's what's happening on there. And so that's what we're seeing. Like you said, it's about 19 students or so. It's just the same thing, trying to help them work through that conflict. It's just not random. Students are reporting. I think they feel comfortable enough with us that they're coming to us. They feel comfortable and come and say, this student is saying something about me. It's uncomfortable. And then we always try to have a restorative with them, to sit them down and talk. Like, what made you say that? How does this person feel about the words that you use? So it always has to be teachable. It can't just be punitive, but we have to teach. We have to help our students understand, how can we resolve conflict? And so it's taking some, maybe students a little bit longer than the others, but we're constantly working on that. So, I want you to feel safe. I'm a parent, both of my children were here. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel safe in giving your children to us, because we value that and we want to keep them safe, and we'll do everything we can to keep them safe here.
It's a process. Is what
It is.
And
It's patient.
you mentioned,
Yeah.
Mom, about police presence. If we're really being completely honest.
I'm sorry.
If we're
About the
really
way.
being completely honest, how much police presence do you really want to see? Do you understand what I'm saying? That in itself sends a different kind of message as well. So we're working with students to help them to develop skills so that they can resolve their own conflicts, because that's what all growing up is about. So if we provide them with the skills and they're able to, perhaps in another situation, reflect on the outcome of the previous one, which we've seen that happen too, then they're growing in their ability to address conflict. Because in the real world, we know conflict does exist. If we provide students with the tools to manage these behaviors, that's better. Mr. Flood mentioned, we're talking a very small percentage of students that we're addressing, and it's repeat. We see these behaviors. So as a parent, I know this is someone who's reaching out, who's really kind of asking for help. So we're trying to figure out how we best support each of those students so that they can move forward. They need to be successful in school too. So, yes. Thank you.
The gentleman in the back has a question.
found out in that district where they do have that heat. The fights posted, all of the kids know about them. They go to the fight page and you see the fights that they have. And that is one thing that someone that didn't see the fight will see it and say, oh wow, somebody got dragged, somebody got beat up. And then it just keeps it going. And so when you try to nip it in the bud, it's hard because there's so much information constantly flowing on Instagram. It gets shared to someone else. They might shut down the page, but the information and the fights are already spread around. So it keeps it going. It's very difficult. The district I work in, we run into the same problem. We had a big fight today. A teacher got hurt. And the teacher wasn't trying to break the fight, but like in most fights, everybody swarmed towards the fight and she couldn't get out of the way in time. So there are a lot of things, you know, working in the school, you see these things and it's like, yeah, it's, you want to help, you want to stop it, you want to fix it, but sometimes it's very, very difficult. You have to, and as an administrator, you have to look at the safety of the students and your staff as well. So I just wanted to add.
So help us, families, just help us by monitoring those sites. If you could do that, we'd be most appreciative.
So thanks. Following up with one of the messages in the chat, there's a lot of craziness out there, guns. And we all feel anxious. It's not, we're all victims here. Teachers, students, families, it's crazy. They don't even get the news. There are more shootings than days in the year. I'm curious if the Shaker Heights Police has had active conversations with the Shaker schools to prevent things like the one in Texas with active shooters. I know that the question has been other students, you know, causing trouble. What if an active shooter is in school? There's a protocol that there have been conversations with schools. I don't know, maybe this is a question for Shaker Heights Police.
Well, I'll say that, yep. You know, first and foremost, we do try to have a Shaker Heights Police the person here every day. That is part of it. They do, and sometimes they're not here. But a lot of, you know, we do try to get one here every single day. And saying that, we do what's called ALICE training within our staff. We will be having lockdown drills coming up here in October. And part of that and what we use is called the Navigate system. And so if that would happen, if we would ever have that or suspect that, we activate that system. And then that system then goes right to the police department. It goes right to a whole bunch of people, kind of right away, alerts, right away, staff, everyone, and we act on it.
We have procedural practices that not only allow us as staff to understand with regards to ALICE training, but students are trained as well.
And I just want to say too, I mean, we really do make it a point as an administrative staff. This is one of my top priorities, and they can tell too, because they're getting their steps in that. We try to really be out there between every transition. We have posts of where we want to be, and that really helps us check in with students, check in with the temperament of what's going on, because that's when you hear things. That's when you start really listening, and that's when you can be, that's when us as administrative staff, we can be proactive. So we really do make that effort to be out and be present. Our 7th grade team with Mr. Reese and Mr. Sheed, they're really out there by the 3rd wing, the ramp. Mr. Sheed, Miss Kennedy over by the crossroads over here, 2nd wing. And I really try to make it out there by the design PE wing, along with our security as well. And that is a really priority for us.
October 18th, I think it's. I think that sometimes the students feel absolutely so overwhelming that it's like, but for me at least, like knowing that that is happening and that's something that is at our local library. Dad's, and it's called Mountain of Action. And I'm just letting you all know, and if you want, in the minutes of this or whatever, I can give you guys the information, but I think, it's not the end all be all, but it certainly does like some action and some very, very, just very, so, that's
So let me just repeat that, sorry, quickly
sorry.
and then I'm gonna answer, we'll have it. There's a question that keeps getting posed that hasn't quite been answered, but, we had a parent here suggest there's Moms Demand Action, which is a national advocacy group for to protect their children from guns in their schools, that is having a meeting at the Shaker Public Library on October 18th. So for parents who are concerned, we welcome participation in that meeting, and it's a real opportunity to, engage beyond coming out tonight. So there's a question that they would like confirmation that there was not a gun involved in the altercation on Friday.
Nope.
And there was absolutely no gun
No gun, no weapon,
Involved.
no nothing.
and no threat related to guns. No credible threat related to
No
guns that
evidence,
no evidence of. So just want to make sure we address that from the chat. But sorry.
I just wanted to add to your statement for parents. I think the challenge for community is to get what you said out to the 650 students and their families about parents and caretakers doing their best to monitor the kids' cell phone use. But I don't know how you do that. And maybe more needs to be done within the school, but certainly at every meeting, at every board meeting, at everything, every pamphlet that's handed out, you've gotta really highlight that.
And I call you, we work on something.
Yes.
I would add
Yes, you can.
the importance of is that if kids are having a concern rather than texting a friend and saying something to their teacher who can speak directly to the administrators. Like if there's ever a moment where like I'm gonna text my friend this, because the reality is they already have phones and tell a teacher.
Yes, sir.
I would, one more thing. Like I said, I'm teaching at the district, what you have to be aware of when you want to monitor the young people's social medias. A lot of the young people have ghost pages.
Yeah.
Where mom and dad can see Julie's page, but then I have a ghost page that say Crazy Jack. Mom and dad might not see Crazy J's page, but they'll see the other page. So you have to understand they do have ghost pages, and that's the page that they do everything that they don't want you to see on. So when you're monitoring, sometimes you might have to say, well, do you have a ghost page? And they'll be like, how do you
I don't know about
but,
that.
but they do have what they call a ghost page.
We wanted to have something just for families. One of the reasons why we started off the school year with having the Shaker Police Department come out and talk about these very important matters is because kids know all the apps. Kids know exactly what they mean and how to get there. We want to have an opportunity for parents to have exposure to these things because you need to know too. If you know, then you're better able to monitor what's happening on those phones. Because we love our kids, we trust our kids. They don't mean any harm when you're doing this, but at the same time, they get a little thrill out of having something that you're not aware of go on between themselves and their friends. So we do plan on planning an opportunity to bring families in and to have someone expert information to share with us all exactly what we should be looking for.
Can I just add that when you do that, maybe also add a little piece of education on the parental controls that are available. There are all kinds of parental controls to provide the screen time and approving apps and things like that too.
We'll do that. Thank you. That's a great idea.
And I also say, that's something, this is like I said, the best attended PTO meeting that probably the middle school's had in 4 or 5 years. But we can help with the promotion, whatever you need related to.
Appreciate it.
Can I say a thank you? I would like to thank our staff in our school district. I think sometimes we forget that we live in a super diverse community, right? And sometimes we think it's like how I look or my gender or things like that. But they're dealing with close to 700 students that come from totally different backgrounds, totally different emotional needs. And they're all here, right? And they're literally trying every day to love these children and educate these children and keep them alive, keep them healthy, keep them fed, and educate them, and then have to hear all the parents' issues, right? In a way of, I want my child to have this type of education, but I want them to sit in the lunchroom and talk to their friends. One has to outweigh the other here. And I'm saying this from like the notes that I took like while we were talking here. And it kind of like upsets me because like I don't work in a different school district, but I am so Shaker and I like mentor kids all over the district, and Shaker is doing it right. And I don't know if you guys see that or you like are just judging from what your point of view of how schools should be ran. But if you guys actually look at the bigger picture here, instead of like your community, your neighbor, your friend, and what their home life is like, and you really realize that there's kids in this district that are going through so much, and you guys say everyone is not passing algebra, but here's a chance that they're trying to get them into a math class to pass algebra, right? And that sacrifices a little bit of socialization. If those friends are your child's friends outside of school, why can't they hang out outside of school? That's just right. And then we say community building, right? If there was a time frame where Shaker was modeled to, once you guys leave your home elementary schools, from 5th grade through 12th grade, you would interact with every single student across the district. So why sit with someone who you know? I came in this room and I sat at the back of the table back there. Aaron happened to sit next to me, who I do know, but I could have sat right here with Tom, who I talk to all the time, but I didn't. And I went around the room and I talked to other parents, and we just have to promote that to our students also. We get that it's lunchtime, it's talking and it's eating, it's still school, guys. And it's like, which part of this do we want? Do we want the fun free time and it's all jolly all the time? Or do we want to be on the internet complaining about what classes our kids aren't getting, who's not passing classes, what the district isn't offering? That's that for me on that side. And I'm not saying this to be mean, but it kind of like shakes me up because I sit in meetings all day and I know that they are really trying. Also, if you guys are talking about lunchtime and how you want it to work, please go get fingerprinted at the FACE office. And we have lunchtime groups where we mentor kids and we help them. And that's really important. I talked about the community. I will not talk on anything with gun violence because I'm happy that we have not experienced that yet. And I'll just hope that that never happens. Same example when it comes to the cell phones, like they're saying, they cannot, most of you guys live in a household with other people, right? Can you control everyone inside your house? Absolutely not. Do you know what they're thinking all the time? Absolutely not. How do we look at these group of educators and administration as gods? Like they know what everyone in this building is thinking when they're walking through here. They don't know. They're blindsided just like we are. But we as parents, we have to use a certain type of understanding and maturity when it comes to our kids. It couldn't be like, oh, this happened today. And you're like, what? That happened? Let me do this. Like, why? Like, talk a little bit more mature and understand where they're coming from. And like they're saying, most kids that are involved in the drama, those are those children. My kid has been in this district. He's in 8th grade. He's never been into a fight. He sees it goes on. And fights don't just happen at Shaker. So I think that's like, you guys go to sports events. We can't have lids, we can't have cups, we can't have straws because some adults changed that rule, not kids, right? So if the adults don't have it together, stop thinking that the kids are going to have it together, and then the admin is going to come through with a special wand and say, when you're walking in the building, you are a new person. They're not new people. I think the district did a great job we're bringing the middle schools, I mean, Woodbury staff to the middle school. Like that shows that they cared, right? They could have went out and hired a whole new staff, but they brought people in who knew the children. And I do appreciate you guys being here. And I know everyone's like, Dominique is always so jolly and happy. But we want you guys here no matter what. We want you guys to be here when we're planning, especially events for the same children that you guys say that you guys love, but we send out sign-up geniuses and they're empty. But we need donations for teachers because we support them, and the list it's the same people, guys. We have to like really say, if I'm investing in this community, I want to live in a beautiful, diverse community that's diverse more than just what I look like, or maybe like a religious diversity, that I'm embedded into showing my children the real world. And I don't know, my feelings are just hurt. I have to be honest. I have to be strict. I have to be honest with that, because we can complain a lot, but what are we doing? Like, how are we really showing up, and what are we teaching our babies every single day? And I'm so sorry that I jumped in and said that I was really trying to sit over there. I've been in meetings every single day, but it's important to know that I'll say this with the junior, a eighth grader, and a second grader, that Shaker really is trying. And they're not just sitting around and like, well, this is just how it is, and we don't care. Like, they're all going to hear everything you say, go back, talk around and say, how can we make this work? How can we like help everyone to feel happy and safe and comfortable with sending their kids here? They do it, guys. They really do sit around. They really do care. And we care as a community. And the best way to show that is like, talk to your children, have your children talk to other people, tell them it's okay to meet a new friend in the lunchroom, because that's why they're at school. Communication. Like Ryan said, my kid, he couldn't tell me anything that happened at school on Friday. And when he left home, he was like, oh, did you hear this? And I was like, no, I didn't even check my email that day. And but he felt okay. And am I talking too much, Ryan? Do you want me to be quiet? You guys can say Dominique move, and that's okay. But like I said, the face office is at the main library. Please feel free to get your fingerprints done and come help us if you guys really care about the babies. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you.
While there's a break, I just want to say hello, David Glasser, superintendent. I've been sitting in the corner over here. Usually I'm dressed in a suit and tie, but I got caught in the downpour on the way home, so changed a little bit. I do want to just acknowledge everybody being here. I really appreciate that everybody's out and cares about and is invested in our community. I also want to acknowledge all the middle school administration that is here and is working, as I think it's clear tonight, is working tirelessly and day in and day out to support our students and their learning. I know I'm not on camera here. Sorry, thank you.
Here.
I did also just want to, I know we're here to talk about the middle school. I also want to just acknowledge that the conversations that we're having here and the things that our middle school administrators are talking about in terms of wanting to make sure we're supporting students, holding them accountable, and also preparing and being safe in our hallways. Those are conversations that we have and plan for across the district. We do plan for and have structures in place for, God forbid, a worst case scenario. And you heard a little bit about that tonight. And we also, the kinds of supports that you're hearing about, that is also something that we have in place across the district and learn from each other as well. So it's very, I'm glad I'm here tonight. Your feedback, as Dominique said, really does matter. And we do go back after these meetings and talk about, about your feedback and ways that we can continue to improve. So, and I appreciate Ryan, Dominique, and the rest of the PTO for helping make these opportunities happen. So thank you.
We do have a question about that $25 activity fee that gets paid at the beginning of the school year, and I don't know the answer. But I will just say, from a PTO perspective, like our our primary role is not to fundraise, but we do fundraise to help supplement the activities that can happen at the school. So that's $25 per student for a school year. How it gets spread out, I'm not clear, but probably doesn't go all that far if you have students that are involved in multiple activities and.
We'll look at the line, but.
But-
Yeah.
Yes, I can mention that, but I don't think that, so if you have free and reduced lunch, those students aren't required to pay the $25 fee at the beginning of the year. But for the parents who make the payment of the $25 fee and they're curious what it goes towards, we'll try to get a better answer for you for that. Okay. Is everyone exhausted? Because we have done over an hour. And while we were intending to have an opportunity for Q&A with Heather, which we can still do, how about Heather, do you want to just make a couple remarks and do you mind popping up here? And I can give you back to this quiet, lonely table. Yeah, no.
I mean, I know David, obviously. Oh, and my neighbor as well. So, hi, everyone. So I am not going to take up a lot of your time tonight. Ryan and I spoke earlier this week, and it's way more important that you guys had the conversation that you had tonight, and this conversation continues on, than it is for me to sit here for another half an hour, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and talk about the bond issue. So what I'm going to do, and some of you have been at much longer sessions in recent weeks. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the bond issue consists of. And then if you guys want to take off, that's great. I'm happy to stick around. I have some handouts, and I also have my card so that you can set up a time to call me. We can have coffee, whatever, just to get you educated on it. So basically, November 7th, you're going to be voting on a 9.9 mil tax increase. What that funds is renovation of our kindergarten through 8th grade buildings and expansion of our pre-K. What that entails is Woodbury will become our middle school. So that will happen first. It'll be in 25. The construction begins in 25. I'm sorry, Ludlow happens first. And with the goal of opening Ludlow for pre-K in 25. That will have 180 additional places for pre-K students. And if demand is there, it can go up to 300 additional places for pre-K. Important about pre-K is that we are not trying to cannibalize all of our existing providers. We are simply trying to make sure that every kid that comes into Shaker schools has pre-K education. Last year, 50% of our incoming kindergartners did not have pre-K. It is crucially important in closing the achievement gap. Next, we will renovate Woodbury so that it becomes a 6, 7, 8 building and put our 5th graders down at our elementary schools. So our elementary schools are going to become kindergarten through 5th grade, and then Woodbury becomes our middle school. That frees up this building. This building will sit here for the next 10 years, and it will house all of our elementary students as we renovate those buildings. Those buildings will be renovated 2 by 2 over a 10-year period of time. So at any given time, you'll have 2 elementary schools going to school here in the middle school while we renovate them. Super important. If you haven't been in the weeds with this, there's, last summer there was a talk about a consolidated elementary school. All the elementary schools are staying in your neighborhoods. Everybody's going to walk to their elementary schools. We are renovating them and we are shakerizing them. They're not going to look anything different. It is the Fernway standard. So if you haven't been to Fernway, by the way, we have tours. We encourage you to go to the Committee for Shaker Schools website and take a look at when those tours are so that you can take a look at it. And then finally, when we get all said and done, this school will be demolished. There is the plan actually calls, it's a two segmented plan. So this first ask of 9.9 mils, November 7th, covers, like I said, our K through 8 buildings and our expanded pre-K. The high school is a different matter. You will have an opportunity to vote on that at the end of the 10-year period. And the community will decide what they want to do at that time. So that is not on your ballot right now. The only other important thing that I want you to walk out of here tonight with is 9.9 mils a big ask? Yeah, it's a big ask. But the reason why this rolls out the way that it does is so that it doesn't hit your taxes all at one time. So the first year, you get the operating mills for pre-K, which is 3 mils. That will hit in January of 24. Then in 25, you actually have a previous bond levy falling off, and then a 1.5 increase for as construction begins on Woodbury. Every year after that, and I have the handout for you, your taxes will increase incrementally until you get to the end of the 10-year period. And it actually, when it's all said and done, it doesn't equal 9.9 mils because of the other projects that are falling off. So, but it's late. I really appreciate the conversation tonight. I'm glad that we were able to be here for it too, because we do actually listen to everything. We do a lot of reading of the adult comments on social media too. And we bring it to the table every time. So this is really important, and I appreciate you all being here, and I appreciate you all being here too. So I'll stick around. I have handouts, and thank you so much.
That was it for our agenda. I know
Probably don't need it.
a couple other PTO business. Oh, yes, sir, go ahead.
What's the next PTO meeting?
Our next PTO meeting is not scheduled till December, at least a formal general meeting like this. But what we could do is at any time facilitate a Zoom conversation. If there's a matter that people want to do, we could get that organized pretty quickly, but.
I was asking.
Oh, yes, so they are.
Regularly.
That's another great question. Yes, so let Dominique, so we meet as an executive board at sort of an ad hoc basis. So
Everyone who is a parent at the school is automatically a member of the PTO. So, and we have lots of volunteer opportunities available for this year, and then looking for next year.
Yes.
And I know you'll be here next year, so if you'd like to get involved, please just, you want to talk with Ryan and John after this.
You can go online.
Or you can go online. We have a website. It is, you could Google it, and it's quicker, but I'll put it. Okay, thanks. shakerpto.org/SMSPTO. But if you Google Shaker Middle School PTO, you'll find us.
Yeah.
And we also have a Facebook page. So if you're on Facebook, please join. There's lots of conversation.
And for those at home, just some people have inquired about additional volunteering when the next meeting is. I think you caught me rambling about December, but also promoting our Facebook page. Many families have joined. We've gotten a lot of new 7th grade families added thanks to the 7th grade orientation evening. But if you are on Facebook and have not connected with our PTO page yet, please do. So, okay. How about with that said, if there's no other comments or questions for the good of everyone, we can adjourn and.
And Mike, you might want to mention when the news comes out on Friday. One of those days, but there's always like a section for PTO. Sunday.
Yes, sorry, the e-news that's distributed every Sunday evening. When you click on the specific newsletter for your student school, being our middle school newsletter, we haven't had a lot of updates lately, but that's where we have our PTO news on a weekly basis. So that's another great point. Thank you, Sarah.
And thank you all so much. We truly appreciate your feedback. It helps us to look and focus on the things that are concerning and how we can continue to improve. So thank you for coming.
Well, with that, thank you everyone online. Appreciate your attending, and we will connect again soon.